sport of boxing is filled with mismatches and meaningless contests. But tonight, we bring you two perfect records, two contrasting styles, two world champions in the prime of their careers. The consummate boxer, Joel Casamayor, an Olympic gold medalist, a Cuban defector, one win away from being Cuba's best pro since Kid Chocolate. The absolute puncher, Acelino Freitas, 29 knockouts in 30 fights, one punch away from stepping into stardom's spotlight. Which champion will remain undefeated and unify the titles? The boxer? The puncher? The answer next on Showtime Championship Boxing. Tonight, Showtime Championship Boxing kicks off year number 16 with a triple header from the undisputed boxing capital of the world. Welcome to Las Vegas, Nevada for one of the most anticipated fights in years. The wait is over for the on-again, off-again 130-pound mega bout between two stars with dramatically contrasting styles. In our main event, a battle of undefeateds. The slick boxer out of Cuba, WBA super featherweight champion Joel Casamayor will meet the slugger from Brazil, WBO junior lightweight champ Acelino Freitas in the long-awaited 130-pound world title unification showdown. The co-feature will focus on former WBC bantamweight champ and Olympic silver medalist from Ireland, Wayne McCulloch, who ends a long 2+ year layoff to take on unheralded Alvin Brown. And for openers, you'll see a top prospect as unbeaten 2000 U.S. Olympian and knockout artist Jeff Lacy is back in action against a fighter named Fike Wilson. We welcome you to the Cox Pavilion, an annex to the Thomas & Mack Center on the campus of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. The UNLV women's basketball and volleyball teams turned this recently constructed entertainment venue over to boxing for only the second time. The first was Chris Burr's 12-round victory over David Tua back in August. The crowd settling in for a main event that has boxing fans very excited. Hello again, everybody. Steve Albert ringside from Las Vegas. Welcome to the first major fight of 2002. In the boxing ring, Joel Casamayor and Acelino Freitas offer the kind of classic contrast in styles that makes for great fights. Cuba's Casamayor is a slippery southpaw who relies on superior speed and technique. Conversely, Freitas is a Brazilian bomber who has KO'd all but one of his 30 professional opponents. But these champions share more than is evident at first glance. Both grew up hungry and poor, both used their fists as vehicles for their salvation, and both fought with great resolve to establish their respective identities. Tonight they fight for boxing superstardom, and with respect to IBF champ Steve Forbes' supremacy at 130 pounds, particularly if WBC champ Floyd Mayweather Jr. moves up to the lightweight division as expected. Take a look at the arrivals earlier. The WBA champion Joel Casamayor, born in Guantanamo, Cuba, defected to the U.S. in '96, resides in Miami, trains out of Van Nuys, California, with the man to the right of your screen, Joe Goosen. Joel, low-key, reserved all business claims. Freitas used his recent personal issues, his management, weight problems, marriage, as excuses to avoid getting in the ring with him. Freitas did pull out of this fight twice. Casamayor says this should be the easiest fight of his career, even though Freitas could pose big problems. And the arrival of the WBO champ, Acelino Freitas, with his wife, Eliana, carrying the championship belt. Their recent wedding was actually televised nationally in Brazil, drew record ratings. Acelino, charismatic, gets the movie star treatment in his native Brazil. Originally from Bahia, now Salvador. Supremely confident despite Casamayor's claims that he was ducking him. In fact, Freitas says, hey, the only reason Casamayor won the gold medal at the 92 Olympics was because he was too young to participate. Said Casamayor won't go 5 rounds. And with that, let me bring on my ringside partner, former world champion Bobby Ches. You heard those fighting words. What makes this championship unification fight so special in your mind?
Well, Steve, as you just stated, it looks like Floyd Mayweather Jr. is going to leave 130-pound division and go up to 135. A little while back, Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Diego Corrales were touted as number 1 and 2. They squared off. It wasn't title unification, because Corrales had vacated his title. But now what's left is Acelino Freitas and Joel Casamayor, number 1 and 2, one way or the other. And tonight's unification to find out. Unification has become part of the style again. We saw recently Kasha Zhu and Zab Judah unify the title. Bernard Hopkins, Felix Trinidad unify the title. It's back in style, and we have one here tonight, and a great matchup at that.
It's good for the fans to unify those titles. Our main event upcoming later, featuring Joel Casamayor and Acelino Freitas. But before that, we have 2 other bouts on tonight's card. Before we get to our first fight, as usual, we invite Showtime subscribers with internet access to score tonight's bouts online in the boxing area at show.com. Your vote will instantly update the webpage, and the results will be announced later on in the telecast. Online scoring will not influence the outcome of the fight and is only available to viewers of our East Coast feed. So to score tonight's fights and learn more about upcoming Showtime boxing events, log on to show.com, SHO.com. Set to lead things off right now with the very promising and hard-hitting Jeff Lacy as he gets ready to face a fighter named Fike Wilson, 168-pounder, scheduled for 6. Is Fike Wilson the next sacrificial lamb for Jeff Lacy? Wilson, one of 30 children from South Philly by way of Tanzania. Turned pro at 15, 10-4-1, 7 KOs, lost 2 of his last 3 off a third-round knockout loss. No fights between 94 and 99. Your best advice for Mr. Wilson? How about avoiding the left hook to begin with?
Well, I'll tell you what, Steve, I might advise Wilson to get a bat. And even with bat in hand, he might have to land first or he could lose. Wilson's going to have to find a way to make Lacy miss and make him pay and counterpunch him. If he can push him back, maybe his best chance might be working the body. But based on his last performances and his resume, I'd say he's facing Mission Impossible.
And you'll see as soon as he disrobes there, he looks great, but not on the same skill level as this man, Jeff Lacy, overshadowed by the quick success of fellow 2000 Olympian Panchito Bajado, but gaining momentum. Highlight reel type knockout since turning pro last February. All 6 wins by early KO, but safe competition. Made it to the second round for the U.S. at Sydney. Chiseled physique, explosive left hook. Pleasant dilemma here, Bobby. He needs the rounds, but keeps taking people out in a hurry.
You know what, Steve? It's probably boxing's best dilemma, but I would never advise a fighter to take any opponent and carry him any rounds. When you can get rid of him, anything can happen. Well, right now, Lacy stepped up a couple of times with what we thought was better quality, tougher opposition, and he's blown them out too. He has the potential right now in the near future to be one of the best 168, maybe even 175-pound punchers in history. He's that powerful.
He wants a title fight, maybe as soon as the end of this year. He's had only 10 rounds, though, in 6 fights. He's got to get tested. Let's check the numbers as we go to the tail of the tape. At 24, Lacy 2 years younger than Wilson. Lacy 2.5 inches shorter, but has a 4-inch reach advantage. At yesterday's weigh-in, Lacy right on the money, 168. Wilson under at 163. Tonight, Lacy +1, Wilson +5, so he's at 168. Key rules: no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. A fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round. If an accidental headbutt occurs before the end of the 4th round, the fighters rule a technical draw. If it happens after the end of round 4, they will go to the scorecards. So here at the Cox Pavilion, Las Vegas, getting set for Lacy and Wilson. Let's get the formal introductions from our ring announcer, Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you, and we welcome you to the Cox Pavilion on the campus of UNLV here in Las Vegas, Nevada, as we have a big night of action coming away. And it's all brought to you courtesy of Arthur Palumbo's Banner Promotions and America Presents, in association with Green Valley Ranch, Station Casino, Showtime, and Budweiser, the undisputed king of beers. Tonight's action is sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Our timekeepers at the bell also keeping count of the knockdowns. We have Al Bisick and James Cavan. Our three judges scoring this bout from ringside, introducing Robert Hoyle, Jerry Roth, and Paul Smith. And the third man in the ring, the referee in charge of this bout, Tony Weeks. All right, fans, here we go with a super middleweight special attraction scheduled for 6 rounds of boxing. Introducing to you first on my left, he is fighting out of the blue corner, wearing white trunks with blue trim, fighting out of South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, by way of Dar es Salaam, Tasmania. He weighed in at a trim and ready 163 pounds. His record stands at 10 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, with 7 wins coming by way of knockout. Introducing Fike Wilson. And his opponent across the ring on my right, fighting out of the red corner, the 6-round attraction. He is wearing black trunks with silver trim, fighting out of St. Petersburg, Florida. He weighed in at 168 pounds. He is undefeated in his campaign to the ring with 6 wins, no losses. All 6 wins coming by way of knockout. Please welcome the hard-hitting and undefeated 2000 U.S. Olympian, introducing Jeff Left Hook Lacy. Once again, a referee in charge, Tony Weeks. Now to give instructions at 6 rounds of boxing schedule.
Take your shirt off. Switch. Okay. You already received your instructions in your dressing room. I want a good, clean fight. Obey my commands at all times. Above all, protect yourselves at all times. Okay, anything right here is good. Anything below this is going to be low. Right here is good. Anything below is going to be low. Are there any questions? Let's go.
Lacy with the Olympic pedigree, probably the hardest puncher from the U.S. team. All 6 of his KOs have come in 3 rounds or less, 4 in the first round. And Wilson, who looks physically imposing but telegraphs his punches, kind of pulls it back before he unloads, throws wide looping shots and leaves himself open, and that is not a good thing against Jeff Lacy. Wilson, who does 3,000 sit-ups a day.
That's a lot of sit-ups, Steve.
Yes, it is. Lacy comes off an impressive 3rd-round knockout over a late sub named Scorpion Bawa, a perfect left hook to the chin, a thunderous shot. He's got power in both hands, speed in his punches.
Wilson talked about early on he wanted to push Lacy back. Now, 2 things happen. You get hit when you come in. And next, you get hurt.
Lacy has had several late substitutes.
Beautiful left right, and I'll tell you what, out on his feet appears to be rough.
Wilson's in trouble early. And he's in a bad spot right there in the corner. And that's it. It is stopped right off the back by Tony Weeks. Wilson couldn't even get out of the first round.
He walked into a right hand, Steve. He left his left hand down, and somehow he just didn't seem to be paying attention to Lacy's punches, and he got cracked good.
With Lacy winning so easily, you wonder, though, if it can be a good thing or a bad thing for Lacy in terms of his overall development down the road. Dr. Margaret Goodman checking Wilson out now. The ringside position. 50 seconds, round 1. I mean, is this happening to build Lacy's confidence or to pad his record so it seems impressive prior to a title shot?
Well, Steve, there's a combination of both that go with that. You want to build a record so the man has a resume. You want to build his confidence and see what he can do. But they've tested him with a couple of reasonably tough guys with some skills, not to his level yet, and they've all paled by comparison badly.
All of his 7 opponents have had winning records coming in, but that could be misleading. Lacy, of course, looks like a future star, but he has to be tested. When does that take place? Is he being held back, even though his record looks great?
And over the course of years, I've seen a lot of fighters coming up, started undefeated records, a lot of knockouts, if not all knockouts. Somewhere around the 10th to 12th fight, they put him in with a journeyman who may not necessarily be that skillful, but is incredibly tough, and will push you and is in good shape. So that's something we've got to look forward to, hopefully, with Lacy.
And in a strange way, his power may be working against him. He's a little frustrated by the fact he cannot show off his boxing skills.
We'll take a look at Lacy working in behind the jab. There's a nice right hand and a left hook. They land pretty clean, but they're not the big bombs. There's the right hand. Wilson just didn't see it over the left hand, and you could see he can barely get his feet. Lacy pursues, right hand down the middle, working the uppercut. Not a lot landing cleanly, but eventually he tees a couple of clean body shots. Wilson backs up into the corner, offering up no offense. Notice that. He's not fired back. If you don't fire back and just go into a passive position, the referee takes a good look and says, no, not happening. This fight's over. If you look at it again from another angle, here's the first right hand and left hook. Not real big power shots, but this right hand that comes over the left hand, you watch it. Fike's not paying attention. His hands down, bang, the right hand. You can see him. Equilibrium's gone, legs are not under him. And he offers up again. No offense. Doesn't even throw a punch back. Just covering up passively. Well, there's a couple of sort of slaps, but he goes into the corner. And the referee's watching him very clear right now. He's got good position, and Lacy's unloading, and those two shots snapped his head well. The referee made a good call. It was all a matter of a few seconds. In super slow motion, we'll look at the first right hand, left hook. Oh. Watch this in this right hand. It's going to really hurt in super slow motion because it lasts a whole lot longer. Right over the left hand. Bang. Look at that delay reaction and his bend. His legs are not under him. He needs the ropes. Without those ropes, he'd been in the first row. A few shots don't land well. That one does land well. Comes to the body. Two body shots, very clean. Left hook to the solar plexus. Very impressive that Lacy remembered the body. Now here comes the coup de grace. Pushes him back with the jab. The referee's really already seen enough. That left uppercut snaps his head up. And you'll see there's no real reaction from Zeke because he doesn't think he's out. I mean, he doesn't think it's a bad call. He knows, Lacy knows it was over.
Yeah, Lacy knows that pose. This is his fastest knockout, 50 seconds. His previous fastest was 1:41 over Tommy Attardo in his second professional fight. His first professional fight, his opponent took one look at him with his shirt off at the weigh-in and took the next bus home. Maybe Wilson should have done that too. Let's get it up to Jimmy Lennon Jr. for the announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the time of 50 seconds in round number one. A referee in charge, Tony Weeks, stops the contest. The winner by way of technical knockout, still undefeated now with a perfect record of 7-0 with 7 knockouts, Jeff Left Hook Lacy.
So Lacy remains undefeated, 7-0, 7 knockouts. And he did tell us that he would love to have a world title shot in a year, perhaps by the end of this year. So another successful night over an easy opponent for Jeff Lacy. Coming up next, former bantamweight champ Wayne McCullough